It was 1966. Deep inside the jungles of Vietnam stood one of the most heavily defended American military bases. Thousands of soldiers, tanks, helicopters, artillery, and watchtowers protected the camp. Floodlights illuminated the darkness every night. To the U.S. military, this fortress seemed impossible to penetrate. But soon, something strange began to happen. Every night, American soldiers were dying under mysterious circumstances. As darkness covered the jungle, sudden explosions and bursts of gunfire would erupt somewhere near the base. Soldiers rushed to respond, expecting a fierce battle. But when they arrived, the attackers had vanished. No footprints, no clues, no captured enemies. Only dead American soldiers remained behind. It was as if invisible ghosts were attacking the camp and disappearing into the night. Military commanders became increasingly frustrated. Search teams combed through every corner of the surrounding jungle. Villages were investigated, trails were monitored, and patrols increased. Yet the enemy remained invisible. Then one day, a routine patrol uncovered something shocking. A small opening hidden beneath leaves and branches. What looked like an ordinary hole would reveal one of the greatest military secrets in modern history. Beneath the jungle was an enormous underground world, a secret network of tunnels stretching for hundreds of kilometers. This was the famous Cu Chi tunnel system. Hidden below the feet of American troops, Vietnamese fighters were living, planning attacks, and launching operations. But to understand why these tunnels existed, we must first travel back into Vietnam's complicated history. For nearly a century, Vietnam was under French colonial rule. During World War II, Japan occupied the country. After the war ended, a powerful independence movement emerged under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh. Following years of struggle, Vietnamese forces defeated France in 1954. Many hoped peace would finally arrive. Instead, Vietnam became the next battleground of the Cold War. The country was divided into North and South Vietnam. North Vietnam embraced communism, while South Vietnam was supported by Western powers. Elections were planned to reunify the country, but fears of a communist victory changed everything. The United States increased its involvement, first with advisors, then weapons, and eventually combat troops. By 1965, America was fully involved in the Vietnam War. American leaders believed superior technology would guarantee victory, but they underestimated their enemy. Vietnamese fighters knew they could never defeat the United States in a conventional battle. Instead, they adopted guerrilla warfare. Their greatest weapon was not a tank or an aircraft. It was an underground city hidden beneath the jungle floor, the Cu Chi tunnels. The tunnels had originally been dug during resistance against French rule. Over time, small shelters were connected together and expanded. Eventually, the network stretched for nearly 250 kilometers. The entrances were carefully camouflaged with leaves and dirt. A fighter could disappear underground in seconds. Many American soldiers unknowingly walked directly above hidden tunnel entrances without ever noticing them. The tunnel system consisted of multiple levels. The upper sections were used for launching surprise attacks. Deeper sections contained living quarters, meeting rooms, kitchens, storage areas, and hospitals. The deepest levels served as bomb shelters. Entire communities lived underground. Families raised children there. Injured fighters were treated there. Life continued beneath the surface despite the war raging above. Life inside the tunnels was incredibly difficult. There was no electricity. Most activities took place under candlelight. Ventilation shafts disguised as termite mounds provided fresh air. One of the most ingenious inventions was the Hoang Cam stove. Smoke traveled through hidden underground channels before emerging far away, preventing enemy aircraft from locating underground kitchens. When the United States discovered the tunnel network, they launched massive bombing campaigns. B-52 bombers dropped thousands of tons of explosives on the region. Forests were destroyed, the ground shook constantly. Yet the tunnel system survived. Whenever bombs fell, Vietnamese fighters simply moved deeper underground and waited until the attacks ended. Next came Agent Orange, a powerful chemical sprayed across Vietnam's forests. Trees died, crops were destroyed, and entire landscapes changed. Then engineers tried flooding the tunnels with water. Poison gas was also used, but the tunnel network had been carefully designed to withstand these attacks. Each new strategy failed to eliminate the underground system. Even trained military dogs struggled to locate hidden entrances. Vietnamese fighters developed clever methods to confuse them. Eventually, American commanders created a special unit called the Tunnel Rats. These soldiers entered the tunnels armed with only pistols, flashlights, and immense courage. Their mission was simple: find the enemy underground. But survival was never guaranteed. Inside the tunnels, danger waited around every corner. Hidden spikes, booby traps, tripwires, explosives, and sudden ambushes made every step deadly. The darkness was overwhelming. The heat was suffocating. The fear was constant. More than a physical battlefield, the tunnels became a psychological weapon that slowly wore down American morale throughout the war. As the conflict dragged on, millions of Vietnamese civilians suffered. Thousands of American soldiers were killed. Back in the United States, anti-war protests spread across cities and universities. Public support for the war declined. Then came the Tet Offensive in 1968, proving that the conflict was far from over and shaking confidence in America's ability to achieve victory. Years later, the United States began withdrawing its forces. The Paris Peace Accords were signed in 1973. In 1975, Saigon fell, and Vietnam was reunified. Today, the Cu Chi tunnels remain as a powerful reminder of human resilience and determination. They prove that wars are not always won by superior technology, but sometimes by endurance, ingenuity, and the will to survive. Even today, decades after the Vietnam War ended, the Cu Chi tunnels continue to fascinate historians, military experts, and travelers from around the world. Walking through these narrow underground passages, it is difficult to imagine how thousands of people once lived, fought, and survived beneath the ground for years. The tunnels were more than just military shelters. They became symbols of resilience, creativity, and determination. The Vietnam War proved that advanced technology alone cannot guarantee victory. The United States possessed powerful aircraft, modern weapons, and overwhelming military resources. Yet the Vietnamese resistance relied on something different: adaptation, patience, and an unbreakable will to survive. Today, the Cu Chi tunnels stand as a reminder of one of the most extraordinary chapters in modern history. They tell a story of courage under impossible circumstances and show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things when fighting for what they believe in. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes, the strongest weapon in any conflict is not technology or firepower, but the determination of the human spirit.